Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. For all my new subscribers, welcome. All right, let's get right back into it. We're gonna continue on where we left off on the Ford. We got the drive shaft from the junkyard, as you saw, and I got it set in place. It's just bolted on with 2 bolts. The angle's a little off, so I need to go ahead and raise that up to where we're about 2 or 3 degrees. And it's already hitting right here, as you can see right there. So I've already marked it because I anticipated to cut it. So I'll cut that square off first. As I always say, you only cut what's needed. Cut more than you need, then you got to go ahead and put it back. And then when we start to close this up, after we figure everything out, we'll go ahead and cut a 45 there and make that a little more smoother. And in the last video, I also told y'all we got to go ahead and get this mount raised up. So hopefully it'll get closer to where it belongs. Let's see if it'll focus in there. And it's not centered yet. Like I said, it's just on the jack stand. But we'll get that at the degree we need, and then we can figure out the mount. We can get this cab closed up. Then we can move on to moving forward. I'm ready to get that front end on. I don't think it's going to take much work. And it'll give the truck so much more of a complete look. All right, let's get back at it. Now that we have that piece cut out, we're gonna have to cut out some more. That's the lip that was at the bottom of there. It was like that. So we gained a little bit more, but it's still not enough. I believe we're gonna go, to be safe, to the top of that hump. So what I might do is make a template of the trans tunnel that I wanna attempt to put in, because this is going to come up more. So I'm going to bring it like to there, and the trans tunnel will go at an angle like that back down. Or I'll bring the trans tunnel one height all the way and then do the transition. We'll see. That way I can get the shape of that hump. Quit focusing on my finger. So I can get the shape on that hump, and I don't want to cut that out square, but if I do, I can always add a piece of material. But that's still not, oh, there we go. Still not where I want it. That's 5 degrees. I want it at 3. So I need to go up 2 degrees. So we will see what's underneath that hump. I believe it's a brace, so we may have to slightly notch that. One little cut at a time. All right, let's see if we can get you in here to see. There's a brace down there. And as you can see, I cut it all the way to the back lip, and then I squeezed it up to the top, and I was gonna weld that together. There's a little bit of a gap, not enough. I want more of a gap, but it's still not where we want it. I like how close this is getting. I feel like I need to make it slide you down in here. I can't get here with my face. but I want to make it to where there's a 1/4 inch plate in between there. So I need to get a plate out, run it across there to see, but we need to go ahead and check this pinion angle. We want the pinion angle, like I keep saying, at 3 degrees. Let's see where she's at. Not quite. That's 4.5. So I probably need to come up. We're gonna have to come up quite a bit. Right there is almost 4. So I need to come up another half inch. So we'll go ahead and chop off that brace up underneath the cab. You can't see it from here. I might be able to get it to where you guys, there you go. You can see it right there where it's touching. So it looks like I'll be able to get it up to the pinch weld, or maybe I'll just trim that little section of the pinch weld, but this will be a permanent stationary, so we won't move up and down like it will back here, because at the U-joint, it bolts at the carrier bearing, I mean. So that's stationary from there to the transmission. It just spins. And I'm gonna leave about 1.5 inch clearance all the way around to anything we do, so we definitely need to bring it up at that cross member. Now that we have enough clearance, the carrier touches the mount that was initially made, and we are luckily close enough. Let's see if we can get up in there without shaking the camera too much. That is dead on 3 degrees. It's exactly where we want it. So like I said, I'll trim that lip and we'll make this back shelf flush. We'll start right here. So it'll go from here and then transition to the drive shaft cover. But what we're gonna do next, so we have somewhere to set this in place, we're gonna go ahead and make a plate that I'm gonna weld to each side. There'll be one over here and one over there. Haven't decided if I'm gonna do a little gusset on each side. May not need it because of how close it is to where it'll be welded, and it's just a carrier bearing. So we'll get some cardboard out and start figuring that out. Hey, if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. That way you get notified when I get updates on this build and many other things that come in and out of this shop. Yeah, you like that? Got the legs up. I needed room. Don't have a lift. I'm not sure if I want one. So I do what I gotta do. Now that we have it all mocked up, that was the top mark. It's not completely centered, but it'll be centered when I draw it up. Then there's the holes the bolts will have to go through. We'll probably tap the plate. It's gonna be a 1/4 inch plate. So I'll probably tap it to where you can bolt through it, or I'll just make it a hole and it'll just be nut and bolted in. So we'll go ahead and go inside and get this drawn up on Fusion 360. is the new plate. Drawn up, as you saw, cut, cleaned up, and now tapped. These are the factory bolts that I pulled out of the carrier from the 2012 Ford F-150 I picked up. And they are a good match. Little nuts and stuff off. Yep. All right, as you see, it's a good match. Didn't have to hold it. It's snug enough. It started to move, but we can go down, set this in place, set the carrier where we want it, clean up metal on both surfaces, and then we can go ahead and tack it in place. Then we can get to the sheet metal on the inside, start mocking up how we want everything, and get that all covered up. Now we have that all welded up. We're gonna do a little more cutting. We got it welded on both sides. This one has the light, so it'll focus better. I don't like how the top piece that's not even used anymore, because this was designed for a different mount. So you could see, get this slide out of the way, get it to where we can use it better. I'm going to cut this piece back a hair and straight up from there. And I'm gonna make a little lip, a step down. So I'm gonna cut this topper piece in, top piece of metal I just welded that to, in maybe a 1/4 inch. That way I can go ahead and weld that all the way across if it's needed. I don't think it's even needed, but I do want to trim that though. And then once we get that trimmed out, wow, I need to see if there's an auto zoom or something, auto focus or something I can take off of this. Once we get that figured out, cut off, cleaned up, because like I said, there's no point in having all that extra on there. We'll go ahead and clean up underneath there a little bit. Not much needed down there. That's just the pinch weld I trimmed out of the way, and I didn't trim it all out. When you get down here, you can see there's still some left. But we can go ahead and move on to getting that drive shaft tunnel covered up. Hey, if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. You'll get notified when I post new content. all finished up. It was missing a weld on both sides of the inside right here, so I went ahead and threw that in there. So now we have a weld on all three sides, and that's plenty strong. I can stand on that. So now we'll go ahead and put the bags back in, the link bars back down, and the cardboard off. And we'll start mocking up for the drive shaft. I'll put the drive shaft in, we'll bolt it up to the new plate we just made, the new mount, excuse me, and we'll set it in place. We're gonna have to mark and trim that little tiny lip right there. I want a little more clearance around the drive shaft. But like I said, once everything is bolted into place, and then we can go ahead and mock everything up. We'll continue on. Not bad for a first attempt. Exactly how I'm wanting it to come out. All right, well, let's go set it in the truck and see how this template works. It won't be square like that. This right here, somewhere down here, all the way to this line will be down below. I wanted extra so we can tie in the cross members that go across. When the tunnel goes down, once we get it set into place, I'll go underneath it and trace the outline of it so it matches the form to the floor. And we can make sure everything's secure, welded up, and sealed. Not looking too bad on that first attempt. I don't want to do it a plate flat there. I don't want to do it like a 90. So I'm gonna probably have it come in. I'm not gonna bring it all the way to here. I'll probably come in to like right here and do a little angle there. Like I said, I don't want to do it flat. I don't want to bring this all the way back to here. So maybe we'll hook this over. I'll measure the same distance on both sides and we'll have it pan in or whatever. But I'm gonna tape this piece of cardboard in and we'll start doing more mock-up. Or I need to get this piece in, throw 2 tacks on it, maybe on one on each side on these humps. Because I don't want to make this piece too long if I'm going to be trimming some of the ears and stuff off to make this transition better. Because if I bring that to there
and all this kind of like curves or goes at an angle down, then I'm gonna be cutting to the right of my finger all that off of there, and I don't want to waste it like we had to on this one. This one I had a whole bunch of material on the right side. I end up having to cut off because I made it bigger than I need. So I want to make the waste a little less on this next piece. So we'll just continue mock up. That came out exactly how I wanted it to. Just set into place at currently. I do need to go underneath it still and trace and outline the bottom side. That way we can cap off any cross members that were going across the cab. That way, I'm sure there's holes for drainage and stuff like that, but why not? It won't hurt while we're in there. You can see that one there, and then we'll go around and show you the other side. So next, we will take the pieces out, flatten them out, and transfer them to a piece of metal so we can bend it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it by hand or take some measurements and cut it out and get it really close or dead on with the plasma table. But once we get everything bent up and where we want it, we're gonna have to test fit the bench seat. I wanna make sure everything fits before we fully weld everything in. This side you can see as well. That's why I didn't wanna bring these out too far, which would have flowed a lot better to bring it to maybe that bar where my finger's going. It would have flowed so much nicer. Don't get me wrong, I love the way it looks now. It flows really well. But I want to make sure there's room for the bench seat, because the mounts, you can kind of see her there, and then like 3 to 4 inches before is the seat. So if the mounts are here, the seat's going to be kind of up here somewhere, and hopefully we can make that work. All right, like I said, we need to pull them pieces out. First I need to trace them, then we need to pull those pieces out and then transfer them to some metal so we can get those pieces tacked in. But that's gonna be on the next one. This one's getting a little long, so we're gonna have to go ahead and cut this one short, and we'll continue on. And if you wanna see this all get finished up and whatnot, you'll have to watch the next one. All right, everyone, thanks for watching.